Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Good morning.
Good morning.
Outstanding. I can remember when I was a boy, I was very interested, very intrigued with being an adult. I wanted a grown-up level of responsibility, the sort of thing that I would come to call personal sovereignty. I was intrigued by the notion of being able to do things my way on my terms and to call my own shots. Now, as you'd expect, my image for that was always sort of commensurate and in line with my age and maturity at the time. And indeed, I can remember a day where I thought that the height of my adult independence would be achieved at the moment where I could order pizza whenever I wanted and not have to share it with anyone. But nevertheless, this notion, not only of personal sovereignty, but of the price, the cost of personal sovereignty, cuts to the core of today's gospel reading and what it is about. For today's gospel sees Jesus traveling to a town called Bethesda. And in Bethesda, there's a great pool, and around that pool are gathered many sick, lame, paralyzed, invalid. And they're there because at certain moments, an angel of the God descends, stirs up the water, and imbues it with God's grace for healing, but just enough grace for only the first person who makes it into the pool. And there, at the water's edge, Jesus finds a man who has been laying there for 38 years, and he asks him, "Do you want to be healed?" Now the man's reply reveals that what has kept him just out of reach from healing for the last 38 years is a lack of kindness. There's been no one to even do the simple favor of putting him into the water right there at the precise moment. And so Jesus' question, "Do you want to be healed?" should be a rhetorical question. After 38 years, there should be nothing that he wants more. But actually, the question is a quite serious one because it speaks to the cost of this personal sovereignty. Because if Jesus takes away his paralysis, he will also take away this man's excuse. Up until now, up until this moment, this man is excused. He is not responsible for obeying the Mosaic Law and all of its details. He is not held accountable, in fact, for obeying any law other than peacefully laying there at the edge of the waters. This man is so excused from every responsibility, should he perish at this moment and find himself before the dread judgment seat of the Almighty. He has an excuse from every obligation. Jesus gives him back his freedom of movement. If he gives him back his sovereignty, he also puts him in the position to be accountable and guilty for much, much more. The humanity that Christ takes on from us truly is no different. We often pray to Christ and ask over and over that our prayers be heard because we believe and we say and we beg that if we were just set free from all of these things that metaphorically paralyze us, from our hang-ups, from our concerns, from our old hurts, our traumas, from our issues, our neuroses, all of these things, if they would just be taken away from us. Oh Lord, all of the wonderful, marvelous things that I would do for you and for your people. Never mind that in the meantime, we have made those pains, those hangs-up, those neuroses, the cornerstone of our identity. And if I were no longer the hothead, if I were no longer the victim, no longer defined by what held me back, who would I be? What would I do? likewise this man takes not 2 steps into his newfound freedom, and he finds himself already condemned by a law that had never troubled him before. It is unlawful for you to carry your pallet. It's the Sabbath. What are you doing? And so we may very well ask ourselves if the price of personal freedom, if the price of personal sovereignty is a greater accountability and a greater guilt. Is there a point? Is it worth taking someone from a worse situation and moving them to a better one? And the scriptures would answer with a resounding yes. That we don't simply take on the spiritual life to stay quiet and inert and just avoid blame and consequence. But rather we have the example from Christ's parable of the talents, where he speaks of a man who has servants, and to his servants he gives them various denominations of money to see what they'll do. And to one he gave a very small trust, a very small amount of money. And the man did not invest it, he did not grow it, he simply hid it, held on to it, didn't lose it, and faithfully gave it back. And it is this man that Christ condemns for being useless in the face of opportunity. For the price of personal sovereignty, that cost. Insofar as we are freed up to be of service. So Jesus, finding the man in the temple, says to him, "Go, sin no more, that nothing worse befall you." What could be worse? What sin could befall him? My brothers and sisters, what a great sin it would be if this man, finally being given freedom, finally being given motion and freedom of motion of his own, should forget all of those who struggled by his side, who co-suffered with him for nearly 4 long decades. Might not there have been someone in his 38 years by the pool who lay there for 37? Is it not possible that he also lay there next to someone who had 41 years by the pool? And what a great sin it would be if, forgetting them and turning his back on them in his newly found freedom and personal sovereignty, he did not go back to those who likewise needed his help, where he just moments before had been trapped. For the cost of personal sovereignty is service to those who suffer as we have suffered. Even in our secular world, we see an inkling of this. In the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, it is the 12th and final step that makes the program work. Namely, the step where the alcoholic, having been freed from the bonds of addiction as far as they can, or to a point of stability, devotes themselves and their lives to finding and helping others who are bound and trapped by the same addiction. Perhaps we long to never again say those sort of regrets in our prayers to Christ. If only I were set free, if only I could get over this, if only I could put this aside, all that I would do. And know that that moment, that day is upon you. It is here, it is now, but the cost of it, the price of that freedom, the price of that mobility, and that personal sovereignty comes at the cost of service to your co-sufferers, those who are in the same dire straits with which you once found yourself. And so if you have known hunger, feed the hungry. If you have overcome fear, anxiety, terror, comfort the faint-hearted. In whatever manner that you've been traumatized, therein lies the price of your service, and those to whom your debt is paid. Freely you have received, graciously share. Do you want to be healed? Or in truth, more often simply more comfortable, paralyzed, motionless, and inert. Behold, good and faithful servant, because you've been responsible in little things, I will give you charge over great things. For to whom much is given, much